Well, here we are at Lord's, 2 days out from the first Test match of the summer. It's not really summery. And alongside me is a man who was just a twinkle in his parents' eye the first time Jimmy Anderson bowled in Test cricket. Is that right?
I think I'd have been about 5, 6, so I remember it well.
You actually remember it? So you had Sky,
I don't remember
did you?
it at all. No. Ashes 2005, main memory, then it went off.
Not even Rishi Sunak had Sky as a child.
Exactly, that's something me and him relate on.
So you did have it or you didn't have it?
I didn't have Sky TV, no. I had a 2005 Ashes series, then I had the 2006 summer DVD, and then I never saw any cricket again. So I don't know who Anderson is. Until today.
We've just come from the Jimmy Anderson press conference. What was the vibe in there?
It was strange a little bit because it felt to me like it was kind of delaying the inevitable breakdown of tears, basically. Anderson said he hasn't thought too much about it because he doesn't want to start crying. He doesn't want to kind of acknowledge what's about to happen. But on the flip side, he did say that he's made peace with the decision and he understands why the management made the call they did, which is effectively that they didn't think he was going to make the Ashes next year and they thought it was time to start blooding some new bowlers.
He said it, but did you really feel that he meant it?
I didn't believe him at all for a second.
Do you think Jimmy Anderson's sitting there thinking, I am better than every other bowler in the country and I should be playing because I'm good enough?
You got an inkling of that when he was asked, are you ready? Is there any part of you that's happy to stop?
It's a very good question.
And he kind of said, well, you're asking me a week after I've taken 7 for. It was one of his best bowling performances ever across his career. And so he knows that in these conditions, he is still the best bowler. I mean, it's cloudy at the moment. If you wanted anyone to be bowling for England right now...
Jimmy Clouderson.
But I think you've really got to understand... Both things can be true at the same time. Anderson can still be the best bowler for England today, but he's not necessarily the best bowler for England next year. And this is where McCullum and Stokes have changed tack a bit. Until this moment, until this squad, Stokes had always picked the best team to win the Test match in front of him.
Play where your feet are.
Play where your feet are, and all that stuff, being present, being in the now. This is the first time they've picked a squad with an eye on the future. And that's why it kind of, after the defeat in India, where they ended up losing 4-1, it wasn't smiles anymore. It wasn't fun anymore. They couldn't drop Bairstow, Anderson, Jack Leach, all these people with a smile on their face. They were like, right, this wasn't really good enough. We want to improve. We want to be targeting India at home in 2025 and Australia away as those 2 main series. And without England wanting to sound arrogant, they're expecting to knock over West Indies and Sri Lanka quite comfortably. And Pakistan and New Zealand away this winter are kind of territories already conquered, as it were. They beat Pakistan away for the first time in however many years, last time in 2022. And they
beat New Zealand in 2008.
So they need to. So 16 years later, they need to really.
Which is when they made their debut, wasn't it? Anderson abroad as a partnership, anyway.
And that was where he referred to in that kind of being the moment of most pride in that, when he first got given that ball, not for the first time obviously, but 2008 was the year where Anderson became the bowler we know he is today, as it were. He debuted, of course, in 2003 at Lord's and whatever, but it was actually 5 years until Anderson did kind of become the bowler that the legend became, where he was England's go-to man along with Stuart Broad, and that's really the point in the line in the sand where Anderson is who you remember him to be over the last 15 years.
Is there a risk associated with keeping him in the fold, though? You know, was that the sweetener? You know, you're out, Jimmy, but we'll keep you in. Because essentially, his role now is going to have to change markedly. And the team, or England fans, have got used to this kind of the two approaches Jimmy has to his cricket. There's on-the-field Jimmy and there's off-the-field Jimmy. Suddenly now, Jimmy's got to possibly change his body language a little bit. He's got to be the comforter. He's got to be the technician. He's got to be the person that the bowlers go to in the dressing room. Is he ready to be that person when he's kind of still sitting there thinking, I should still be out there because I'm better than you?
The change will be at its weirdest, Test 1 to 2, without a doubt, because it's so short term. He's still part of the squad. He's just wearing a different hat.
That's going to be really... So to go from here, Lords, to... Where was the second team? I can't remember. Birmingham?
Trent Bridge.
I mean, I've got hotels and trains booked. Actually, I haven't got a train booked. So he's going to go from Lords, opening the bowling for England, 700 wickets in his back pocket, the absolute dog, and then he's going to go to Trent Bridge and he's going to be starting out, coaching for dummies under one arm.
Imagine if you're Dylan Pennington potentially making your debut
in
that second Test
and he's
match.
watching up there and you're like, Oh, no pressure.
Well, yeah, he's not been selected for Test 1 because it's like, well, Anderson's better than you. Now you're not getting selected in place of Anderson because you haven't like won the shirt, if that makes sense, which is a cruel way of saying it, because obviously if you're in the squad, you've earned it to whatever certain degree.
That's pressure, man.
It's pressure, and it'll be interesting also to know if Anderson himself enjoys the role, how he finds it, because there's the debate. Graham Swan spoke about this, where he said that he thought that players were at their most useful to the England camp as soon as they retired, because that's when they had the most transferable knowledge. Why wait for Jimmy Anderson to earn his coaching badges, get 5-10 years down the line, and come back to impart his knowledge when, as of right now, he's the most intelligent, knowledgeable bowler in the country? And so if you are Dylan Pennington, yes, it might be awkward, but also, would you rather be able to kind of get Anderson's thoughts now or in 5 years' time? It's probably the former. I appreciate the social anxiety that's attached to all of that. I'd rather kind of have my own space.
I think I'd rather have my own space as well. We've seen, it's a slightly different situation, but we've seen Sam Curran be given the new ball with Stuart Broad gnashing his teeth in Barbados in 2019, and it didn't go particularly well. We've seen Mark Wood given the new ball with Stuart Broad to him again, gnashing his teeth and then doing a mea culpa kind of big brother kind of routine. That didn't go too well for Mark Wood. I'm just thinking, as you say, when England start bowling at Trent Bridge, having Jimmy Anderson up there in the dressing room, it's a risk. That's all I'm saying. Could go one way or the other, but it'd probably be fine.
It's probably going to be a risk. It's a risk in terms of the social dynamics of the changing room. I don't think it's a risk in terms of like the match, as it were. And if it all falls out, then they can just stop doing it. Basically, I think it is different to when Broad kind of got left out and then gave his kind of diary entry to Sky and was like, this is unacceptable, then wrote the column, and when he'd been left out of the Windies trip in 2022.
It wasn't a mea culpa, was it? I've got my Latin wrong.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not across my Latin, so I'm going to let you...
I'm not across my Latin. Well, we did go to the same school, so...
We did indeed, yeah.
I wasn't either. It was a choice when I was at school.
Yeah.
Latin or sports studies.
My mum made me go to a term of Latin class in year 9, 10. It was before school. You had to be there at 8 a.m. and that didn't last very long.
That's not happening.
But
where were we?
We're talking about Jimmy Anderson and whether it's a risk. I don't think it's a risk, because the difference is he's no longer a player. He is done. And I think as long as it's been really clearly communicated that as no matter how many hamstrings are kind of tweaks over the next 6 months, that is it, finished. I don't think there is that kind of potential for awkwardness. I think it just has to be okay. England have to look at it as a case of we potentially have the most intelligent person to do with swing bowling, guiding this next generation through to our eventual goal, which is, it's always a shame when you're always having to look forward to the eventual goal, but that is what's happening with this England team at the moment. They're looking forward to 2025, India, Australia, and they want Anderson to basically guide these players through so they're the best they can be.
Quick question before we finish up, Cam. Is this right now the most exciting time in the last 30 years to be an England qualified fast bowler in this country? Because we've had Goff and Caddick, then we had Harmison and Hoggy, and then we had Anderson and Broad, and now we've got it could be you.
It could be me. I hope it is me. Well, I think it's very exciting if you possess basically the attributes they want you to. It's not a case of, so if you're Sam Cook at Essex, we don't know if he'd have been selected for this squad. He's got a remarkable first-class record. He's got like 294 wickets at an average of less than 20. But he isn't a big strapping lad like Dylan Pennington, who kind of thumps it down there at 86 miles an hour. They want attributes. So it's not a case of if you are taking wickets in the county championship, you might get a chance. It's how you do your bowling. It's literally how, not how many. So if you're the likes of Ajit Singh Dale at Gloucestershire, he bowls quick. He's arguably the fastest bowler in the county championship at the moment. His record isn't amazing, but he's there going like, you know what, I might be getting a tap on the shoulder. And as you say, these bowlers basically have 12 test matches until India come next year to get a tap on the shoulder and find themselves bedded into this England team. I think you've got the potential for short-term fun and long-term glory. As you said, there's 2 spots now open in this England team. Broad and Anderson have been so synonymous with this English cricket team, and now in the space of 2 home test matches, they're both gone. I mean, what an opportunity if you're Gus Atkinson, Dylan Pennington, even Mark Wood, Ollie Robinson, Josh Tong, whoever it is, when they get fitter or they get back in the team, there is a shirt to be owned for years to come.
Brilliant stuff, Cam. Thank you very much.
Thank
if
you.
you're still watching this now, then you must really love one of us two, maybe even both. So to prove your love, can you subscribe to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, and also subscribe to Following On podcast.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.